Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real People, Real Stories Raw. This afternoon, I am excited to have a co-host with me, Debbs Debb, coming in from Canada. Good afternoon, Deb.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well. Good to see you. What a nice surprise to have you reach out to me early this morning and say, I personally know Elizabeth Gagnon, and we spent some time together. We've actually had a hug or two, and I'm feeling drawn to step into the studio today. And so, welcome to the studio, and it's good to see you. I have missed you.
I've missed you too, and thank you so much for letting me come on because I just allowing me the space too, because I was touched by Elizabeth's story, and I just know that this will be an epic show.
Thank you. For some reason, my camera just went off. Can you see me?
I can see your picture.
That's about it. Hold on a minute. Interesting start to the show here. Hold on one moment. While I'm waiting for my camera to come on, I welcome Elizabeth to the studio.
Can you see me, Elizabeth?
Oh, I can see you, and I see a black screen for Jay.
Okay. That's okay. We'll wait till he comes back on. But do you want to go over how we managed to meet and how? Oh, there's Jay. Yeah. I see Jay right there. I can see you now.
Well, I'm going to try to take it off to my external camera, which is a way better camera. For some reason, it's not. Well, I may just have to go with a camera that's not at the same quality.
Oh, I see you.
Unfortunately, the camera I'm using is my internal camera. My external camera decided to put itself in a timeout. I guess even cameras sometimes need to set boundaries for themselves. I've got a healthy camera. Unfortunately, right now it's decided to put itself in a timeout. But in any event, Elizabeth, welcome to the studio. I'm so excited to have you here. What I'd like to do is just read a quick bio. Share with the community. Those of you that are joining us live or on replay, welcome, and thank you for joining us this Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, as we both Deb and Liz are coming in from Canada. So we have North America being represented in the house today, two countries side by side. And I really like how we have it set up. Typically Debbie and I would be at the top of the screen and we'd have our guests at the bottom. But I decided to go with it just as you all came in, because what feels right to me in this moment is that we are hugging you. You are between us like that Oreo cookie. You are in the middle, and we are going to hug you through today's show as you share your backstory. But here is a little bit about Liz before she jumps in here. Elizabeth is an author, the founder of Miss Liz's Tea Parties, and a change maker. A survivor of abuse and grief, Liz is making change in the world by creating magical events where people come together to share their stories of trauma and triumph. And I love that, trauma and triumph. Liz is the founder of the Tea Bag Story Award and Miss Liz's Tea Parties. Since 2015, these events have grown exponentially and raised over $5,000 for women's transition houses. That's Canadian dollars, I'm going to presume. Sexual abuse services, Parkinson's resources, and bereaved family services. Liz also hosts an annual Christmas open house for single moms, their children, and the homeless. She is heavily involved with bereaved families of Ontario, Cornwall, up in Canada, and is a member of the Community Action Network Against Abuse. Liz has been a contributing author in Canada 150 Stories and the first Sacred Hearts Rising anthology. as well as she just was co-author published in Sacred House Rising Anthology Book #2. Writing has been a part of her healing journey. In 2011, Liz was recognized as a living example of never giving up when she was presented with the Hope and Resilience Award from the Canadien Mental Health Association. Liz is committed to breaking the stigma around mental health issues. Learn more about Liz at www.lizsteaparties.com. And God, this bio is just amazing. The things that just hit me, Liz, one was, as I shared, you talk about traumas and triumphs. And that to me is what is in fact most important, because I know we all have experienced in our life at some point some form of traumas and wounds. And some people choose to hold on to it and live in it until the last breath is taken. And others choose to turn it into something really positive and be change makers in their own life, and then hopefully influenced by inspiring others that it's possible to improve your life and heal the wounds, mind, body, and soul, from wounds and traumas of any type of abuse, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, and or sexual, and even spiritual. Spiritual abuse takes place in homes as well. And so with that, Liz, welcome to the studio. And thank you for joining both Deb and I today.
Well, thank you both for having me here. It's a great honor to just get my story out there and show the world that no matter what was given to you, you have a choice to change it. You know, all my life growing up, I was told I would be nothing. I would never accomplish anything. And just you reading that bio, it shows that anything is possible, you know, with a lot of hard work and determination, and showing that what people tell you is not what you can be. You know, it doesn't define you. You define yourself. It's a choice. So thank you again, Jay, for having me, and Deb, you know, and I'm honored to know both of you. Like I'm a person who believes in lessons and blessings. Like we meet people for both reasons, some good, some bad. And I've met both of you for good reasons. And I'm sure we're going to take an awesome journey together. We're both going to be, you know, all three of us, I believe, are in book 3 for Sacred Heart. So that's amazing. So right there, yes. It's a small world.
You know, I'd like to just emphasize something we shared a little bit before we came on live, is that this is a no judgment zone. That meaning that no matter what you share, no matter what you say, both Deb and I will hold space for you coming from loving kindness without any judgment. And secondly, if at any time a question should pop from Deb or myself that we present to you that you are uncomfortable responding to or answering in a moment, you could set a loving boundary with the two of us, and we will respect you coming from love. So this is a safe zone. This is a place that we try to create a space for you to come in and share your story, so that it helps you as you continue on your healing journey. By hearing your story one more time, there may be parts of the story that come forward that perhaps you have not shared in a public forum before, as well as the opportunity to bless someone else that maybe hears something that resonates with them from their own past experience or story, or their own backstory of trauma and wounds in their own life. That gives them the courage to either begin their own healing journey, or give them the courage to step forward and ask to do a show. And because we know, as Deb and I have learned, witnessing other women that have come forward to share their backstory, we've seen some incredible change and growth take place for women have stepped forward, even while we were live. And so it's we never know what's going to unfold and how it's going to play out. But we do want to encourage you to feel safe, that we are here to provide that safe environment for you, and know that we always come from one place, and that's always love.
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
So behind you, I just want to point out, I believe that is on my screen as I'm viewing you, Sacred Hearts Rising. That is book 1 that Deb just held up, but it's also behind you on your window ledge, it looks like.
Yes, I have book 1 and book 2.
Okay.
on my ledge here.
And it's interesting that in between book 1 and 2, book 2 is somewhat cut off. Deb did hold it up. She held up. There's a photograph of you
Yes,
as a little girl.
yes. This little girl is the girl who lost her innocence at the age of 4. But this little girl is me sitting here in person today, a survivor, a fighter, and a change maker. She may have lost her innocence, but she gained her strength. And something that was said at the summit, I believe Tira said it, will we change anything that happened to us? And I wouldn't change a thing, because I wouldn't be who I am today if none of this happened to me. So for me, this little girl is special, and I'm shining bright because of what this little girl went through. Because this little girl is me.
Thank you for sharing that, Liz. I'd like to ask if you're comfortable to share, to dive a little bit into what happened to you at the age of 4. What happened in your life that had a profound effect?
Well, at the age of 4, on my 4th birthday, I was given a birthday gift by an uncle, which is not a gift, but today I look at it as a gift because I wouldn't be who I am if he wouldn't have done that. In the midnight, around 2 a.m., I believe, it was middle of the night anyway, my uncle woke me up on a pulled-out couch and had told me to follow him. He had another birthday gift for me. And of course, being little and you want a gift, you want presents, you follow. So my gift didn't turn out to be a nice gift at all. I lost my innocence that night. Rough. Something that little girls shouldn't have to go through. It was a life-changing moment. As I shared in my story in book 1, my chapter is called The Broken Porcelain Doll. For me, I broke that night. I shattered into millions of pieces, not understanding what was going on. The darkness came in, but it was a darkness of not understanding where I was or what was going on or who this person was or who I was anymore. So my body slowly disappeared. The little girl just vanished. For many years, the abuse continued. So for over a decade. And then my godfather was the second abuser. So I not only was victimized by an uncle, I was victimized by a godfather. So for me, religion is, I have a hard time with religion. I'm more spiritual than I am religious, because for my understanding, a godfather is someone who's supposed to protect you. My godfather violated me, so I have a hard time with that. But yeah, growing up, there was a lot of moments where it was dark. As I shared in my story in book 1, I didn't have any support from my family at all. I was the troublemaker. I was a dirty little girl. I was the one that was the family troublemaker. How dare I speak out and say these things about people? They just love me and I should just accept it. So it was hard growing up. And then to have the betrayal of my parents turning on me, it was hard. And then my siblings, they never really understood why I was always in and out of the picture. Because when I would talk about certain things, my parents would have me put up into a psychiatric ward or group homes. Get rid of the trouble, get rid of the dirt was what I heard a lot. So yeah, it was a hard life, but I got through it. And then in my teen years, I became pregnant with my abuser. He reoffended me after going to prison or jail, or for me, I call it a joke because he got 6 months for a decade of abuse. But
Did he go to prison for the crime against you or for other women?
for myself,
Okay.
he got 6 months, and he was supposed to do, I believe, 18 months at the time, but because of good behavior or something, I'm not sure. The justice system for survivors is ridiculous. It needs to be changed, and we need to be speaking out. We need to change these laws. There's good behavior for abusers. In my eyes, it's awful. Why should they get good behavior when they took our lives away? We didn't get any awards or less sentence of abuse. We got the abuse, and so those are things that need to change, and that. So, but by speaking out and having our stories heard, we're going to change these laws. And I know I'm going to be one of them that's going to make a big difference, because I'm not stopping it. So, and I got a good support system behind me that we're all going to be change makers, and we're going to make a difference. So
We are.
It's interesting, Liz, and I want to just acknowledge you and thank you for going deep and sharing what you just shared. A lot of people don't have the courage to share their story in any way, especially going in a public forum like our show today. But I also know that you have been speaking out. You have been on in other interviews. You have published parts of your story in a few books now, and about to publish in the third book that you mentioned Deb and I are going to be part of.
yeah.
Will be on the bookshelves in March of 2020. Oh, by the way, congratulations. I saw that you got your story has been submitted to the editors. And
Yeah, it was a hard one, but it's in.
The last couple of days.
Yes, it was a hard one. In my third chapter, I'm going deep. I thought chapter 1 and chapter 2 were hard. Chapter 2 was about my kids. Chapter 1 was about my abuse as a child and my parents, and just the ultimate betrayal from the whole family. And chapter 3 is about mental health. So it's hard. They're hard, but they need to be heard. So.
You mentioned, well, so many aspects I could come in at right this moment, so many parts of that story that I heard. But you had mentioned that your parents would at times send you away to get you stabilized, perhaps, or if whatever their motive was may have been somewhat different. But when your uncle went to prison, did your parents and your family support you at that time? Did they acknowledge it, and were they supportive?
No. Actually, the day that my uncle got released from jail, my mom locked me up in the apartment and told me I needed to stay there alone, because they were all going upstairs to have a family celebration that he was out. And I was 12 at the time. And being a child, I wanted to be with my siblings. I didn't understand why I was being locked up again. Like, why was I being punished for something again? So I took it upon myself to go up. And at the time, my aunt and uncle lived just above us. And I went up and I knocked on the door, and my aunt answered the door and asked me what I wanted. And I said, well, I want to be with my brothers and sisters. I want to be with my mom. And I was told, well, you do know he's here, right? And we don't want any more trouble from you. And I said, okay, I'm not here to make any trouble. I just want to be with my brother and sister. So I took it as, I better just behave myself and I better just let it go. And let's just celebrate that he's out, that he took my life. Let's just celebrate this disgusting abuse, you know? So it went on that I went and I played in the bedroom with my brother and sister and my cousin at the time, and everybody acted like everything was normal. And oh my goodness, Liz just came up with some little lies, and let's get over it. We'll forgive her. She's the damaged one. She's always looking for her, you know. So it was hard, but what people didn't realize was because of me forgiving everybody so easily, he reoffended me. And I didn't want to take it back to court again because it was just, nobody's going to believe me. He's going to get a few months. It's going to be a laugh. There's going to be a party. Why mention it again? Well, what they didn't realize is that I became pregnant with my uncle's kid. And my dad had me and my dad, we had a weird relationship. I love my dad. I miss my dad. My dad is gone. I was a daddy's girl, but after coming out with what happened to me, he kind of turned to me. I was different. I wasn't that little precious little girl anymore because I was a troublemaker. So for years, I begged for my dad's attention and love and affection. And it just got to a point where it just got worse and worse between me and my father. But even to this day, I still love my dad. And I've forgiven him for the choices he's made towards me. Not for him, but for myself. Because I needed to move forward. So by getting pregnant with my uncle's child, I was told, well, you better not say anything to the family again. So I had blamed a boy at school who gave me a kiss on the cheek and said that he got me pregnant. And a bunch of the boys that knew this boy came into my home at the time, and they beat me up with a hockey stick. And my daughter was stillborn. And my dad was at the hospital with me, and my stepmom was there. And my stepmom looked at me and said, you know, we need to do something with this baby. Like it can't just disappear. Like this is a baby. You can't just get rid of a baby, right? Well, my dad at the time, he said, well, I'm not spending money to bury a baby. Donate it to science or throw it in the trash. It's just a little bastard baby anyway. So at that time I was 14 and I didn't really know what was going on. And I just knew that I had delivered a baby. And it wasn't moving. It was purple. And I didn't understand because I was a child. I had to grow up really fast from the age of 4, you know. So things just kind of was like a blur for me in life. It was almost like a fast movie at extra speed, you know, everything just running and on high alert all the time. Never knowing where it's coming from or what's coming next my way. So I was on my tippy toes a lot as a little one. And then after my daughter, I don't know, my dad used to always throw this joke around when he was drunk, would be like, if you want to see your kid, go to Science North, she's in a tube there. Because apparently they have fetuses there or something for science. And for many years I thought, okay, if I want to see my little girl, maybe I'll go to Sudbury and I'll see her. I'll get to see my baby. And it was just sick jokes all the time, you know, just a continuous mental abuse, emotional abuse, psychiatric abuse that was thrown at me, you know. I never understood why. And even to this day, I don't. And I just don't want to feed into that anymore. I just don't want to give any more energy to that. So that's why I decided to share my stories in Sacred Hearts with Brenda. Like, it needs to come out, but it needs to come out in a way that it can help others. Because there are people out there that just live in silence because we just don't understand why we're being treated this way, you know? So yeah, it was hard. And because of all the abuse, then the mental health came in, and, you know, depression and BPD, borderline personality disorder. You know, there was just labels thrown at me all my life, like, you have this, not understanding what any of it was, because I was a child trying to understand what all these big words were, or diagnoses or illnesses were, you know. So it was hard, really hard, but I know that it needed to happen. It needed to happen because I'm here to make a difference for somebody else. It's not about me. It's not about us. It's about, we're here to give strength to others. We're connected so that we can help others. You know, it's like us connecting today. Something I'm going to say or something I'm going to do is going to affect your life. And you're going to look at it and say, wow, like, you know, I've overcome this. Because I don't know your story, Jay, and I don't know Deb's story, but I know that our stories will connect, you know, and we're all connecting somehow and for a reason. Only the universe knows why we're connecting, but it's for good reasons. It's not bad. It's good.
Mhm. How, when I'm going to fast forward just a little bit here. But before I do, I'm going to invite you to take a nice deep breath, if you may, and hold it for a few moments and then let it out. You showing up in the studio today, as you have in other programs, and sharing your story in a very public way, takes tremendous courage, incredible courage. Why do you think you have had the courage to step forward and do the work you do today for yourself and others, as opposed to taking the alternative route, which millions of people do, which is just keep it a secret in their own home, in their own soul? What do you think it is about you that is, I don't want to say different or unique, but is a
I
gift?
like that word. That word I like. I like unique, because that's what I am. I'm unique. I'm not like anything else.
Okay. Why do you think you've had the courage to step forward? What makes you so unique?
I honestly think it's my inner child, the little girl that's pushing.
Mm.
The inner me that says, don't you dare give up. No matter how hard it gets or how dark it gets, you just keep pushing, girl. And I honestly believe that my daughter, who passed from stillborn, is my light and pushing.
That's an interesting perspective, that you're in a child that wants her story to be heard. And so you, as the adult of yourself, is honoring your inner child's desire. You're honoring her, you're respecting her. You're showing her love, perhaps, that she was not able to receive as that child in her own home. Not only as you shared, were you abused by your uncle, but you also endured emotional and mental abuse by your own parents. I don't know about your mom, but for sure your dad.
Yeah, my mom, I love my parents. I don't know why I love them. A lot of people don't understand why I love them, but I love my parents because I know that they were given to me to make me who I am today. I've been given the people in my life to make me who I am today. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I've been given them all for a reason. And only God knows, and the universe knows why.
You're beautiful. Wow.
Deb, does that not sound familiar? When Jay Shetty did one, Jay Shetty is both, if those of you are not familiar, both Deb and I met through the Jay Shetty Genius community. And one of his month's topics was on forgiveness. And he basically shared a little bit of a different language, but the same message was that when we forgive someone when we're able to identify what the lesson was that we needed to learn from the hardship, from the trauma or the wound, the pain, the suffering. And once we understand what the lesson was, we can actually be grateful because through the lesson, we get to grow. We get to learn what we needed to learn so that it never happens again because we set a boundary for ourselves to hopefully prevent it from happening again. It doesn't always.
No, not always.
So is it fair to say, Liz, that you have in fact forgiven your mom and dad?
I have forgiven. I've forgiven everybody who has done anything wrong to me for me.
That's amazing.
Because I know that apology is never coming.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is coming, it's not heartfelt. It's another way of saying we still have her and no one has me. I own me. I am me for me, not for anyone else.
Forgiveness is. Oh, sorry.
And I no longer give the power to anybody over me. You know, a lot of people ask me why I don't get married, why I don't do this, why I don't do that. Because I choose not to, because I know it's not good for me. It might be good for others. I'm not knocking it for others, but it's not good for me. And I know what's good for me.
Deb?
It just sounds like you've really dug deep and really been able to find yourself and not only your inner child, but your inner warrior, you know? Like the inner child is your inner warrior, but she's all grown up now and an adult.
Oh yeah, I'm a kick-ass warrior.
I know you are.
So what I'd like to do is fast forward here a little bit in the spirit of the time, respecting time. Now you become an adult, you've got the layers of the traumas from your earlier childhood as part of your cellular memory, as part of your being and all. How did you navigate through life and what did the healing journey look like for you?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say my healing journey started in about 2008. Just a year before I gave up all of my medication for mental health. Like I was given so many pills and so many, take this, take that, that's going to help you, this is going to help you. At the end, I was just a zombie with medication. And in 2008, I seen myself slowly changing and almost going into a different direction of, you know what, I know what's good for me, and I don't need them to tell me what's wrong with me, because there's nothing wrong with me. I have just lived through hell. I've been abused over and over, trauma after trauma. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just surviving. I don't need a pill to put me to sleep. I don't need a pill to get me through the day. I don't need a pill to eat. I know what's good for me. So in 2008, I slowly started to take myself off of medication. And then the doctors, well, of course, doctors don't like hearing that you don't need their pill. the money, you know, it's all about who's going to get the dollar and all that.
Liz,
But
Liz, at the height of your medical, not practice, but how you treated yourself. If I recall, you were taking 28 pills a day.
yes,
And if I may paraphrase you, what I think I just heard you say is you took yourself off. You went from 28 down to 0 over a matter of time, perhaps.
yes.
But you made a conscious decision that your diagnoses were not going to define who you are. Is that correct?
Yeah. By taking myself off of medications, like I still have my days where, you know, maybe a pill might help me, but mind over matter and grounding and listening to the birds and just the flowers, just nature around you, it's healing in itself. You know, you might cry. We all need to cry. Crying's good. Like, and crying's not a weakness. It's strength. And we got to get this out of here. Like, you know, oh, you cry, you're a big baby, you're weak. No, we're not weak. We're strong. We're not ashamed of showing our emotions. We're human. We all cry. So, you know, I hate that statement when people say, oh, you're so weak, you're so sensitive. You know what? Maybe I am, but I am me. I'm real. I'm not hiding it to pretend that everything is fine and dandy. It's not. So I'm going to cry today. I'm having a bad day. I'm crying, but I don't need a pill because I'm crying. I'm just going to cry. You know, but it took me time, and I'm not saying for everybody to get off their medication. I'm not saying that. For me, I didn't need the medication. I just needed to have affirmation that I was a good person and that I went through hell and back. I didn't need a pill to tell me that it was going to go away, because it wasn't going to go away. The damage has already been done. There's no removing this damage. There's no returning it. There's no return to sender. You know, it's done. The little girl her innocence has been robbed. I'm not getting that innocence back. I'm not getting that little girl back. But this little girl that did lose her innocence is fighting back and saying, you know what? I don't need a pill. I don't need your love. I don't need you to tell me that I'm a good person, because I know I am. You know, it starts with us and it ends with us. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. As long as we're not hurting anybody and we're not doing any damage, do your life. Just be you. You know, be real. You're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. And if you're having a good day, good, celebrate. You know? And you don't need a pat on the back from everybody. Oh, you're so good. No, you know what? I am good. I'm good to me.
Liz, you know, what you're saying, it's brilliant. It resonates. I love you for that. But how do you get there?
Honestly, I don't know. I cannot answer that question. I know that there's something in me that just does not want to give up. And I honestly believe it's the little girl who lost her innocence. She's just fighting back and saying, hey, you didn't lose me. I'm in here still. Let's go. Let's change. Like, you know, let's show the world that we can do this.
Have you thought about it? Has it changed at all since you decided to tell your story at all?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Like, living in silence was deadly. It was killing me. It was eating me alive. And Brenda, like I said, I meet people that I shouldn't even be meeting. Like meeting you guys. Like, I met Brenda because I followed her on Facebook. You know, Facebook, everybody says, oh, Facebook. You know what? Well, Facebook was good for me because I met Brenda Hammond, and Brenda Hammond changed my life. That woman is my angel, and I am forever grateful for that woman. That woman does not understand how much she has made a difference in my life. she believed in me when nobody else did and gave me a chance and has changed my life forever.
At the summit, I just saw you guys and I just saw you together and I just felt like she feels like you look like a mother-daughter relationship. Like it feels like she's, you know what, I'm taking you in under my wing, and it's just beautiful.
That's exactly how it felt when I met Brenda.
Yeah.
And it was Brenda's book called Hear Me. I wanted to be heard as a child all the time. And I just that title, Hear Me, like, what is this book about? I don't even know what this book was about. Like, I didn't even know what it was about. It was just a title. I need to meet this woman. I need to talk to this woman. And then when I read her story, it was like, oh my God, like the age and the things that happened, the statements that were said to her, it was just like reliving everything that I went through, you know. It was like an older version sister having the same thing happen, but just through different events. So I think that's why me and Brenda, like, we really connected and got close together. And like with Brenda, I'm on the ride. Like, I don't care where she takes me, I'm going.
Yeah.
Because that woman is amazing. Like, she has made a difference by sharing her story and by giving me a voice to hear my story, you know. So her Hear Me, it's Hear Me mini mini Brenda here. I'm Hear Me too, you know, like. So, but yeah, Brenda is my inspiration.
You know, I heard you say something, Elizabeth, and for those that may not be familiar with who Brenda is, Brenda compiled, she is a woman who, as you said, has written a book or two prior to the Sacred Heart's Rising anthology, but it's a compilation, it's a bunch of people that have come forward to share a part of their story, a short story of their own that unfolded in their own life. And so you met Brenda and you were in book one, and book two just was released a month or so ago. It's still available on all the booksellers online and in the bookstores. Can be purchased through Amazon globally, throughout at least Canada and the United States. I believe it can be bought overseas as well in the UK. Something that you said that really struck me is you said that Brenda has been your angel. But I have a feeling that you may agree with me on this statement. What was, by the way, your nickname when you were a little girl? And if you didn't have one that was enduring, what is your nickname for the little child inside of you?
My nickname, oh my goodness, I had so many different nicknames because there were so many.
What's the one that warms your heart and soul?
The one that warms my heart and soul would be Giggles.
Giggles? Okay.
Giggles.
Okay, so this is what I'm feeling in this moment, what just bubbled up for me, is that Brenda is Liz's angel. And Liz has been Giggles' angel, which is a little different than your perspective on your own story, because you say it's your little inner child, Giggles, that has given you the strength to step out and step in to live your life and to heal. Therefore, you are Giggles' angel, because you are protecting her, you are loving her, you continue to show up for her and show her that she doesn't need anyone outside of yourself to love her, to nurture her, to protect her today. That as long as you have one more breath to take, that you can take care of yourself today. You can protect yourself and you could love yourself, love Liz, and love Giggles. How does that feel to hear what I just shared?
That sounds amazing, because as a little girl, the nickname Giggles, I was given that by one of my uncles. And when I was really tired or overtired, I would giggle, I would laugh. And he gave me that name Giggles. And it just stayed with me for 40 years, you know. Giggles, how you doing? Giggles, how you doing? And for me, it's like you just said, Jay, like, Giggles is that little girl, you know, because I'm asking the little girl, how you doing? Like, you know, Giggles, how are you? Like, you know, and, you know, for Brenda, there was a statement that she had made in one of her stories. I'm not sure which one it was because I have so many of Brenda's stories. That she remembered giggling in the field where she was at a pasture with one of her horses. And I guess just the word giggles kind of resonated, you know, because I could picture Brenda giggling at that pasture with that horse because she felt safe, you know. And when I giggle, I feel safe. So it makes sense to me what you said, Jay. You know, the connection, you know. Brenda is like the big mama bear that I always wanted, you know. Don't you dare walk on my cubs because I got all my cubs back. And she's like that with all of us authors. Like, yeah. I'm sure all of us have noticed that. Like, don't you dare step on my babies. Like, yeah. You know, she's the protector. And growing up, that's what I wanted. I wanted that protector. I wanted that person to say, you know what? No, you're not doing this. And I think that's why me and Brenda connect so well, because Brenda has like, nope, it's not happening, not under my watch, like, you know.
Beautiful. So, could you do me a favor and take the picture of Giggles and put it back in between the two books? Yeah. Thank you for that.
One thing that Jay worked with me on, and I really appreciate it, and I do it quite often, is write a letter to my inner child. So to Giggles, you would write a letter as Giggles to yourself, and then read it out loud, either to Jay or whoever you feel safe with, and then respond back to Giggles as your adult self. And man, is that ever healing. And I just, first of all, wanted to say thank you, Jay, for that exercise, because that really has concreted the bond with Boo Bear and me. So, and by knowing what I know that it helps, I can help other people by sharing that.
You're welcome. You know, it's really a way to, it's really a tool to help people connect, to come home on some level to the soul, at the soul level, to their inner child. To write a letter as your younger self to yourself, just expressing as a child would say the words, you know, I'm angry, I'm scared, I hate you, whatever it is, and kind of go through the process of writing the letter to yourself, reading it out loud, so you hearing Giggles speak those words. And then for you as the adult angel of Giggle to be able to write a letter back. So she gets to hear what she needs to hear how much you care about her, how much you love her, how you were here to protect her. And that as long as you are alive, she's safe. In your own words. And it just is such a powerful exercise that allows a layer of healing to take place at the deepest level, at the root levels of self. So yeah, I'd love to have the opportunity, if you're open to it, to do some of that work with you.
Oh yes, for sure. I'm always looking for tools and, you know, different patterns and thinking, because being in a family of constant abuse and that, you get used to that pattern. And you get used to the words and you get used to the sayings, and so when you start to hear the positive and you hear, oh my goodness, you're a beautiful person, and I'm like, oh, who are you looking at? Because you ain't looking at me, you know. But now I can say, yeah, you are. Well, thank you, you know. And that's one thing I've learned, is just say thank you. You know, thank you goes a long way. You don't need thank you, blah, 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 blah. Just say thank you. You know, thank you for acknowledging me. Thank you for noticing me. Thank you for seeing me, you know. And there was an exercise we did at the summit again, Deb, you know, where we had to look at a total stranger and just look at them for 30 seconds and say, you know what, I see you, you know. And that was empowering, you know, just to have somebody who you never knew look at you and say, you know what, I see you. You know,
that was the most powerful thing I've done. I don't know about you, but just to a total stranger and looking them in the eyes, I just broke down. It was beautiful. just to acknowledge that I see you. And now when I greet somebody, I say that. I look at them in the eye and I say, I see you. And then, holy man, the connection you get.
Yeah.
What we
'Cause
don't realize, Brenda, what we don't realize is how many people feel like they are not seen
Mm-hmm.
and not heard. And it comes through in ways as adults, in behavior. For example, someone that may be a really loud talker, really, really loud. That may be an end result of having not healed that part of self that was not heard as a child. And, to be able to come from that space of empathy and be able to say to someone, here's a question I have for the two of you. You both went through that exercise. Have you thought about, or have you taken it outside of the summit? The summit, for those that are watching, referring to is when a book is launched, it goes published. Brenda puts together a summit for all the authors of that book and the prior books to get together for a 2 or 3 day weekend. And it's a way to connect and celebrate, I think, and honor the work that each co-author had the courage to step forward and share their story in the book. But have either of you tried that outside of the summit, where in public, someone that you don't know, that you sense may be hurting? Have you tried it, or would you be willing to try it, to go up to them and say, I see you? Would you be willing to take that risk, not knowing how they're going to respond?
I haven't tried it, but I'm willing to try it.
I actually have. I went to it was a full moon fire burning ceremony. It was really, really intimate, really neat. And we walked around and shook hands with everybody and just acknowledged their being there. And there's this one lady that I just looked her in their eyes and I said, thank you for being here and I see you. And man, the response I got back was just wait a second, oh, I see you too. And it was just the most beautiful connection with a stranger, and you don't forget them after that. It's very, very neat.
I love that story, Debbs. And for me, I have not done that, and I'm gonna place it in my memory so that I will try it. The closest thing I've had to that, two things. One is that when I'm doing my spiritual practice on a daily basis in self-care, and let's say hiking or climbing the trails of Arizona, I greet everybody. I say good morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them with a smile, have a beautiful day. And I know it touches some people more so than it touches others, because I just can tell by their response back to me. And I don't do it for the response. I do it to just touch someone that may need to hear good morning, because they may not have heard it in a long time. The other thing that comes to my mind is that how many times we have been, let's say, in a relationship with someone. It could be a partner, a friend, a relative, that is having a breakdown of sorts in the moment, an emotional meltdown, like a child, and they're screaming, or they're yelling, or they're angry, or all the above. And instead of getting pulled into their meltdown and become part of the toxicity of it, what happens if we just say to them in that moment, can I just give you a hug right now? Like, ask them for permission to show them love in that moment when they have been triggered or tripped and they're in pain and they're suffering in that moment. How does that diffuse the energy in that space? From my experience, when I have done it, it worked probably 8 out of 10 times. Now, there were a few times where it didn't work so well, and that pissed them off even more. Like, just get out of my space. They just up their rage at me. But there were many times where it diffused it, and it went from that to sobbing in my arms. And I haven't had to do that in a really long time. And that may be because I've learned how to set boundaries for myself, and I'm really selective who I let into my life today. I I don't surround myself with a lot of toxic people that are coming at me or other people in the moment. I detach from that as best to my ability that I've learned how to do. Because that's taking care of myself.
Yeah.
Liz. That's you taking care of giggles, saying, no, I'm not willing to accept unacceptable behavior today. Not from you. It doesn't matter if it's a blood relative or a friend or even a boss or an employee.
And in the end, if you're not setting boundaries for other people, then you're not saying that I'm enough by not setting those boundaries. So by setting those boundaries and actually putting that in place, then you're telling yourself that I'm enough, and you're also telling other people that you're putting your shield on, but it's just boundary shield.
Yeah. Well,
So-
and it's okay to set boundaries, but we have to, people say, well, you're setting boundaries now. How dare you, like, especially with my family, it's how dare you speak out, and how dare you ignore us, or, we've always been there. I get that a lot. And I just say thank you and take care. I push them along because I know that they're not healthy for me, the old me would have been, oh, I'm really sorry. I'll change. I'll fix this. Now I'm not. We need that. When we set a boundary, we need to stick with that boundary. And sometimes it's not easy, but the more we stick with our boundaries, the easier it gets. And then people realize, oh my goodness, okay, now she's not playing anymore. She's serious. Like,
yeah, we have to teach people how we want to be treated.
Yeah,
exactly.
I tell my son that all the time.
The ones that are going to push back on boundaries are typically the ones that are misbehaving the most.
Yep.
They're the perpetrators. And so learning how to take care of yourself is coming from the space of love and kindness to you and me, to be able to say, not today.
Yeah.
Not today. I love myself too much to tolerate unacceptable behavior. And it doesn't make us selfish. It doesn't make us mean. It's an empowering, freeing experience. And this is coming from a man who had no boundaries for most of my life. 54 years of my life, I was afraid to set boundaries because I was afraid if I'd set a boundary, you wouldn't love me, or you wouldn't like me, or you wouldn't. I wasn't a good person. I was being selfish. I was being mean.
Yeah.
And it took me almost having to die, be taken out, in order to start to have my awakening and wake up.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter who it is. What matters is that if it doesn't feel right for me, trust my intuition and know that it's just not right.
A lot of it stems from society's imprint of what love is. When we're kids, we get taught conditional love. So if you do this and you do this, I'll love you. But if you do something wrong, I'm really mad and I'm withdrawing that love. And that's conditional love that we've been trained. And so we show ourselves conditional love when we make mistakes, and we know all the mistakes we make. And we tend to, well, me and myself, I tend to personalize that and magnify the mistakes that I made and have conditional love for myself. But I think once we were aware that love is unconditional, and the love that we are taught, that simply just isn't, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Deb, thank you for sharing that, because that's so profound what you just shared, that many millions of homes, children come out of a home with, they've been taught what love is, and it's based on their experience of having grown up in a home where there may have been addiction, there may have been abuse, there may have just been traumas and wounds that their parents hadn't healed, so they're carrying their wounds from their childhood, and so they're just doing the best that they can. But in the meantime, they're teaching us what love feels like. And one of my teachers, through one of her lessons, has said, love is pain. Why? Because one hand, a parent may be verbally abusing us or setting conditional love statements in a moment as a child, and in the next breath, they're telling you they love you after they just either physically assaulted you or they emotionally beat you up. And then an hour or two later, they're telling you they love you. So we, as children, our brain is not even fully developed until we're in our mid-20s. Frontal lobe isn't even fully developed on average until age 28. So our experience of love is somewhat polluted because that was our experience.
Mhm.
So what our job is as adults, if we want to be well and healthy, is we have to biohack our cellular memory, our brain, our wiring, to begin to experience what unconditional love can feel like.
You have to redefine love, hey?
And it has to come from within. We want it to come from someone outside. I'm ready for a man now. I'm ready for a woman now. If I just find the right mate, they'll love me and I'll be okay. You know, because I'm not okay in this moment. I'm unhappy, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I have anger issues, whatever is behind the pain. And we tend to want to believe that somebody else is going to make us feel better and we can live happily ever after. And that, unfortunately, is not the truth for most people. We just bring that pain into the relationship and we're going to attract what's called law of attraction. We're going to attract someone who is carrying their own pain and hasn't dealt with theirs. And so now we have two pain people together, basically co-creating what was created in our own childhood, in our own home, by parents that may not have healed their own wounds from their own childhood. And so the cycle continues. So what you get to do and what you have done, from the way, if I may paraphrase you once again, Liz, is you're breaking a cycle by showing up for yourself and showing up for giggles and being a change maker in your own life and learning how to love yourself.
And that was the hardest job ever, learning to love myself.
How'd you get there? Assuming that you're even, I don't know if we're ever always there, but you're certainly on the journey there. Has self-care played into that experience for you, that healing journey, and or how have you gotten there?
For me, it was writing and painting, releasing the inner pain, letting the paintbrush do the talking, letting the pen do the talking. Because there's stuff that gets put on paper and I'm like, what in the heck? Where did this come from? You know? But it needed to come out. It's like with chapter 3, like I said, 10 copies, rough drafts in the garbage. Didn't even read them. Don't even know what was on them. And I've kept everything I've written since I was a little girl, except for these 10 copies. Apparently I wasn't supposed to see them, and it wasn't needed to be seen. It just needed to be trashed. It needed to come out, and it went out. And something hit me, and it just needed to be sent in. Just stop throwing and send. And we take it from there.
That's exactly how my experience was, just to be honest with you. I had to write like 6 different stories of it, and I couldn't log into my other one. I'm like, well, you know what? They don't need to be read. I couldn't even reread them, but it was definitely needed to come out. And then I finally was able to produce I was able to make way for the new.
It was like throwing the old trash out and bringing the new in, you know. It was like recycling, like, and I believe Jay, you had said purging. I was purging. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm not keeping it. It's just going in the garbage. Like,
that's beautiful.
And I think that chapter 3 is going to be amazing, like chapter 1 and 2. Like, it's amazing what the editors do and how everybody works together and makes it so that it's an enjoyable experience as well. Yes, we live through the emotions again, and the scents, the smells, the way we felt at that moment. Certain words, trigger alert. Like when you write, it's trigger alert. If you're writing for healing, it's trigger alert. You better be prepared for triggers, because it's coming back. But through writing and through growing and getting strong the way I have over the years, my triggers are, I know them now, and I can move through them, where before it would be like trigger alert. Oh my God, I'm going to bed for a week. I don't even want to deal with this. I don't want to talk to nobody. Just leave me alone. Where now a trigger, I'm crying. Just cry. it's gonna get, I'm gonna get through, but cry.
So
I cry a lot.
Me too.
if I'm hearing you correctly, your experience is such that the trigger isn't a bad thing. The trigger is a growth opportunity. The trigger
It
is
is.
just a sign that there's some more work that needs to be done on your part. And you allow yourself the space, the safe space, to kind of walk through, feel it, reveal it, and then heal it.
Yep.
And it may take more than one time, and it usually does. The deeper the wound. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge so many people that joined us live today. And I want to thank them. If you joined us live or if you're catching us on replay, know this: you're never too early, you're never too late, you're always just on time, your time. And at the same time, I'd like to read a couple of statements that were comments that were shared. Mary Kelly says, "How can you say I love you when I may not even love myself?" And I'm gonna piggyback on that in a moment, but I also want to share. Miriam Santana says, we have to undo the script. We have to undo the script. The biohacking is, I think, what she was referring to in that segment of our conversation. And part of that is basically shredding the story that either we heard, that we received from a parent, from a teacher, from at the playground, wherever it came in, that was toxic and hurtful. We get to shred it today. Or even if it's a story that we have been telling ourselves about ourselves that is not true, it's a choice to stay in it, or it's a choice to put it in the shredder and shred it, toss it out. It no longer serves you. And you'll acknowledge that and get rid of it. Throw it away and tell yourself, just stop. Stop it. Stop it. And if we say that 5 times in a row in a really affirming way, it begins to teach us. That's one way to start to biohack our thoughts. You know, I did that exercise with one of my coaching clients yesterday. And the other word that's really powerful, that really helps them biohack in the stories that we keep living in and telling ourselves. So one was stop it, just stop it. And keep saying it until you're feeling it at the soul level. Even if you say it out loud 10 times, it doesn't matter how many times you say it until you begin to feel it. And the other word that's even more powerful than stop it is yes. 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 Just say it. I did that exercise to myself. I don't know where it came from. It just came from within. I was on a mountain trail about 3 weeks ago. And this is the first time I'm sharing this story. This is my truth. I just was in a moment, I was feeling gratitude. I was looking around. I was on my way back, my descent from a double dip mountain trail that I love. And I was in this moment of pure gratitude and humility for where I was at in the moment. And I was connecting with my higher power. And I just said that one word. And I don't know how many times it took, but I think by about the 6th or 7th time when I affirmed yes, I broke down in tears and just cried as I was hiking. Talk about a healing moment. Talk about a moment of just pure gratitude for how I was feeling, for the growth that I felt in that second. Try it sometime. When you're not liking where your thoughts are, just command yourself to stop it.
I use that phrase a lot when I self negative talk myself. You know, when I'm having a bad day and I'm like, oh, you're so rotten, you're this, and I'll be like, stop it. Like, stop it now. Like, you know what? You're the one who has control over this. Just stop with those comments. Just quit it, you know? So stop it is empowering, you know? And yes, it's nice to say yes, you know, but say yes in a way that it's going to change you. You know, don't say yes just to make somebody else happy. Say yes because it's.
Oh no, exactly, Liz. Thank you for pointing that. This is not about saying yes, because we have to learn how to say no.
Exactly.
If we came from a boundaryless home, we have to learn how to say no. We're saying no to someone else because we're saying yes to ourselves.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right? John Thaddeus says, yes is the strongest universally powerful word. Thank you for sharing that, John. Yeah, I want to go back to a comment that Mary said, because it's so true. I want to just piggyback. And she says, how can you say I love you when I may not even love myself? Therein lies, I think, one of the foundation cracks that are present in so many homes, globally speaking, not just in Canada and the US. But if we are wounded adult children, and we haven't done our healing work for ourselves, and we are doing the best we can as a surviving adult with children in a home. And if we don't love ourselves, and we don't take care of ourselves, we don't nurture ourselves, we don't love our inner child, and we haven't come home to ourselves, we don't do self-care of any kind, we don't know how to take care of ourselves to where we feel good, how could we have any idea how to love somebody else? Honestly. We love our cars more than we love ourselves.
Yep.
We take care of our cars better than we take care of ourselves. We know when our car needs that oil change. Matter of fact, some of us love our cars so much, we're willing to invest more and buy synthetic oil, right? We know when to rotate the tires, and we know when to get that car washed. When are we rotating the tires on our own self? When are we washing ourselves? When are we changing the words we speak about ourselves, like we change the oil in our engine? For many, we are challenged with that. We have to start somewhere. And where that somewhere is, it's called courage, like you showed today, Liz. It takes courage to change.
It's scary, but it's worth it. And I don't have it all figured out. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still healing. I'm not 100% perfect. I have my faults. And that's one thing I've learned too, is with everything that has happened through me, you know, we have to take ownership for the choices we've made as well, you know, because not everything that was given to me was given to me without my consent. You know, there's other things in my life that has happened, and I chose to have that happen. So I take ownership for that, you know, and I say, you know what, it's not all you, it's me too. Especially in relationships, you know, relationships are two people. It's not just one person, it's two people. Whether it's a relationship with your parents or a relationship with your children or your spouse, there's always another party. And you can't put all of it 80 on him, 20 on me, or 75 on the kids, 25. You know, it's 100. You're both 100. You both got to take ownership. You both have to take responsibility, and you both have to say, you know what, I messed up, I screwed up. Let's work through this and let's get on, you know. And if it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work. We're moving. Like, but until you're ready to change, you and until you're ready to heal, you just stay in it, you know, until you have that awakening of I don't want this anymore. You're just going to live in it. So it's a choice. You either choose to get ahead or you choose to stay in it, you know. And if you want to choose to live in the garbage, that's your choice, but I'm not choosing that. I'm choosing to be free. I'm choosing to own what happened to me. I'm choosing to take responsibility that, yes, I was an abused child. Yes, I live with mental illness. And yes, I lost a child through stillborn and my children through foster care. But you know what? It's all those choices that make me who I am today, you know? And some of those choices were my responsibility as well. And I own them. Could I have been better in some of the things I've done in my life? Yes, I'm sure we all could. You know, we're all human. Like, and until we realize that we're human and we do screw up, you know, it's all of us. We all have to work together. You know, I work with you, you work with me. You know, and if this doesn't work, okay, well, this is not good for me. I'm moving on to this. That's going to be better for me. You know, we have to do what's good for us. And some people are just not going to like it. You know, they're going to be like, well, what the heck happened there? It doesn't matter. It wasn't good for me, and I'm moving on. End of story.
Beautiful.
You
Beautiful.
know?
Liz, what you said, I'm going to paraphrase you. Deb, you've heard me say this numerous times. We have a choice in life. We choose to either live in pain or we can feel the pain. When we feel the pain, so begins the healing process and journey, as you have described today and shared with us. You've chosen not to live in it, not to muddle in it, but to feel it. And through the feeling comes the healing.
And I'm going to have my bad days. And there's going to be days where I'm like, you know, that self-pity, oh my God, I had it so hard. But you know what? Stop it. Just stop it and move on. Just go.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
See how it works? Yes.
You know, just stop it and yes, like move. Like, you know, we have the power to make our lives what we want. We're the only ones who stop ourselves. We're the only ones who are our worst self-critics, you know?
Yeah.
And yes, I could have chose to go down a path of, you know, addictions or self-pity or just stay in bed for the next 10 years. But I chose to have a life. I chose to live that life. And do I struggle? Oh God, yes, I struggle. But I sacrifice. With life comes sacrifices. And I'm not talking about doing without a candy bar. I'm talking about you sacrifice for the things you want in life. If you want to really heal, you're going to sacrifice. You're going to do without to get to that healing part. And I've sacrificed a lot in my life.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Liz, we are way past the hour, but believe it or not, it's well, it's 1:20 here in the West Coast. It's what, 4:20 there in the East.
Oh, wow.
Mountain time is just an hour ahead where you are, Deb. But what I'd like to do is invite you to perhaps share some closing thoughts and words for somebody that may be listening on live or on replay that may need to hear something that you have to say. If you could maybe put a pretty bow on a show for us today, I'd greatly appreciate that.
All I can really say is you're in the driver's seat. You drive your life and you make the choices to heal or stay in the pain. And your story does matter because we all have a story. So just get out there. And if you think you don't matter, well, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. You do matter. We all matter. And we all have this one step at a time.
Liz, thank you so much. I am so humbled by your courage to step forward today and have the courage. I'm so humbled by your presence and by the words you spoke and where you were and where you are in your own journey of this thing called life. I would like to ask you one last question before I turn it over to Deb. And that is, how do you feel in this moment? And are you glad that you came into the studio today with Debbie and I? And I'm going to expect that you're going to be honest and truthful. And if it wasn't, and if you have some things that are not so positive, share them as well, because we can handle it.
Honestly, I'm totally grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for every opportunity that comes my way, good or bad. This opportunity here was a good one. And I am truly honored to know both of you. And I love the platform that you have for the show, Jay. We need to hear these stories. We need to be real. We need to be raw. We need to cry. We need to be open, you know. And I wouldn't change anything. It was perfect. And okay. I'm really, really honored that you had me on the show today.
Thank you for that. You got me. Deb?
It's okay to cry.
Oh, believe me, no men do cry. I affirm that throughout the last 3.5 years of my own healing journey. When I don't cry, I get concerned that I'm that I'm freezing back up, my soul's retreating. And I don't ever want to be retreating. I always want to be expanding. I always want to be growing. And I know through tears, the tears that I share most of the time are not tears of pain anymore. They're tears of just gratitude and humility for the growth that I've experienced in my own life, and for the choices I make in my life today and the type of life I'm living. So yes, thank you for that. Deb, you're up, girl.
Well, I'm going to read a poem if that works. Is that okay?
Of course it is.
Okay, it's called Your Poem, and it was written for somebody who was going through quite traumatic experience, and she had asked me if I could read a poem or write a poem for her. So this is written for her. It's called Your Poem. This is just for you. Let these words ring true. See them, feel them, let them sink in. Whenever you read this poem written just for you. Please me remember, dear one, these words didn't appear out of the blue. You are in pain, you have been shattered, kicked while you're down, you have been told to stay down and not to make a sound, almost drowned. You have been beaten and punched, the unthinkable done, things no living soul should have to rerun. Your brain has been scarred, all you can think of is how to shun, how to run away from the feeling that dares enter near. It doesn't matter, good or bad, you're always met with fear. Please know that this is not meant to last. It soon will be dealt with. This feeling won't last. All that's left to do is accept the horrible things that were done. Once you push through the pain, just know that you will have won. When you veer from the pain that you feel deep inside, all you want to do is run away and hide. Try just once, just one at a time, to feel that feeling and to it be kind. 1 second. Beamer, come here. Good boy. And for it to be kind. Once it has been felt and treated with love, instead of pure hate, you will be able to heal. It's never too late. Don't listen to your thoughts in your head. I'm not enough. I'm stupid and dumb. These thoughts are not true or the reason you feel lonesome. Choose to change the perspective. Be grateful for the smallest of things. Help out a stranger. You'll see the happiness and the joy that it brings. Sorry, my dog was barking. Someone knocked at the door.
It's okay. Maybe that the dog's bark needed to be part of the poem today, right?
Mm-hmm.
The dog needed to hear his voice.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe the dog was saying either stop it or saying yes. Yes. Ladies, again, thank you so much for joining me in the studio today. I've enjoyed our conversation, as difficult and as painful as it was to listen, be an active listener and participate. There's so many gifts. There's so many liquid, pure gold moments that came out of this conversation today. If you are listening on replay, if you catch the show, I hope you heard something that gives you the courage to change. It gives you the courage to step in and step out of your own secrets, your own pain, your own abuse of sorts in your life, and begin your own healing journey. These two ladies have come forward today to show you that it's possible, that when we step in and just have the courage to take the steps to improve our life, to get well, everything is possible. And with that, my name is Jay Rothman, and thanks for joining us on Real People, Real Stories, Raw. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies, please stay in the studio just for a moment so we could just have a wrap up. Thank you. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining us today.